Callum, I'd like to introduce you my second favourite management game about a toroid space station.
There's surprisingly more than one of them now. So
really? Yeah, like a new addition to the genre that we didn't know we had. So this is IXION. This is a game that came out tail end of 2022, and I was like, oh, I should probably... I've been looking forward to it while I talked about it in the podcast a little bit. And I was like, oh, I should play a little bit of this
I remember you talking about it,
before we start doing Game of the Year, like, just in case. And then I put 20 hours into the game, and I'm like, actually, this might be on my top 5 that I haven't quite settled. It may be on my top 5 game. I really, really like what this game does. So, I'm just going to play this. So, this is immediately after the tutorial, and is basically, like, the start of what happens in the story, and it's going to explain everything here, which is why I've done this. I'm going to explain everything that happens, but I just want to start the cutscene that happens. And then we're going to go that, and then we're going to do this. And then we're going to close this because I'll explain it. Then we're going to go back in here. So yeah, so IXION is a game from Bulwark Studios, who are the same guys, as I looked up, that did 40k Mechanicus. The XCOM 40k game. Well, I should actually play time while it charges. And yeah, so it's a city builder. So I don't particularly like 4X games. Like, they're just there's usually too much happening for me. But city builders I do quite like, and there's a lot of Frostpunk in this game in terms of like the structure of how it's put together.
Because it's fucked up. Is that the...
It's not as fucked up as Frostpunk, but in this term that like there is a story. Like, it's not like you start and you go, like, there's chapters and the story progresses. So basically the setup here is that you're working
it's all got very Interstellar all of a sudden.
Wait till you see this. Like, yeah.
Yep, that's just Interstellar. Okay.
You work for this company called the Dolores Corporation, and this is their test for a station that can jump to new hospitable planets. So this was the test of the Vol drive, which is this thing that's active right now.
This is a hell of a visual that's happening right now.
It's very cool. So the whole point of this, the tutorial and the prologue, is that it sets up that you're supposed to do this jump, test the thing, and then come back. And I really want to show this video specifically because this is how I played the demo of this during one of the Steam demo festival things.
I remember you talking about it.
And this was the end of the demo, and it is so spot on to what they're going for. It's kind of amazing. Like, they are doing the Elon Musk thing here, or like not even specifically Elon Musk, but like the kind of tech bro or like tech visionary style video, right? So this is a video that's been projected or being shown to everyone who's assembled to watch this drive get kicked off, right?
I already think this guy's an asshole, so it's doing its job quite well.
Yep. Like the way this is put together, like, this is not done for like video game coolness. Like, this is done by this company to show how awesome they are. And it's great.
The people who made this video, or more specifically the person who's in charge of the company that made this video, thinks it's really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why can't our fucking tech geniuses be like at least this thing, like this level of like cool and inventive? Where like, no, we're gonna build like a big space station instead of like shitting on people on like Twitter or like and making like really dumb shit. Well, why can't they just be like, we're gonna make a space station and be like cool in space?
Well, hey, hold up. let's end this cutscene.
I do know how this goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
but like I just loved how
he's got the one earring as well, man. What an asshole.
Yep. This guy comes across exactly how they want this guy to come across, and it's great. And like the way the speech happens and stuff like that, the way they put this together. So while this is running, so the way it's structured is really interesting. Like, there is a story, there are chapters that you progress through, and if you like fail out, you can restart a chapter again.
Yeah.
Which kind of works, kind of doesn't. But anyway, so the shot of somebody recording this jump happening from Earth. Like, oh fuck.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a really good intro.
Yeah, it's
That's
a really, and this was the point where I was like, okay, I need to fucking play this game. On top of like it being mechanically really interesting. So you make your jump.
Just absolutely absent-mindedly fucking coring the moon.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, just blasting a giant hole in it. So you've made your jump and have now come back.
Jump complete.
Oh, the AI is called Eden. That's
Anomalies detected. Multiple
I wonder.
security breaches found within full jump routines. Full engine critically damaged. Hull integrity compromised.
Hey, it went real well. In case you haven't.
It seems to
Yeah.
go well. Yeah. Not only did all of the bad shit happen because they drove through the moon, or is
No, they
that just
didn't intend to. Like it just so
Okay.
happened that the engine just knocked a giant hole into the. But it was the jump that did it.
right? Okay, it wasn't just them. Like light speed traveling has caused all this problem. It was
No.
specifically because they hit the moon.
Because they hit the moon. Yeah, they
Right,
didn't see this
okay.
happening. So we are receiving no communication signals from Earth. Ongoing survival stands at 7%.
Ensure humanity's survival by finding a habitable exoplanet.
So the other thing you find very quickly, and this is not a spoiler because you find this out in like 10-15 minutes, time has gone weird as well. So like this jump, you're now multiple tens of years into the future from when you jumped, right? So yeah, so this is what it looks like. I'm going to pause just while I'm taking it around. So if you're familiar with something like Startopia, it's a toroid space station. It's shaped like a donut. So you have multiple segments. If you look at the mini-map in the bottom here, you can open segments up. It costs a bunch of resources. And you basically have to well, you don't have to survive.
Does it exist on multiple levels, or is
No,
it one?
it is one level.
Okay.
But
so you don't have the like entertainment deck or the
no,
the,
it's one
the
deck.
garden deck
But
or
you
anything
do
like that.
have an exterior view, which is the whole station.
Woo! Like,
And then you also have a planetary thing as well, so you can.
oh, because you can technically move around, right?
Yeah, because you have a normal engine as well as your full engine. So mechanically, some interesting things that's happening here. So I'll get into like.
So are there people on this station right
Yes.
now, or is it okay?
I don't know if you can. Yeah,
Oh, there they are.
you can see them all looking around.
I would be panicking if I was them.
So, in terms of the kind of Frostpunk part of it, is like these events that happen, right? So these will come up partially as a result of.
The crew is asking a lot of questions about the state of Earth. That's probably fair.
So these will come up in response to like story beats or like stuff happening. So like if there's a dip in food production, for instance, sometimes an event will come and like, yo, people are hungry, you need to do something. And you can do things like commit to sending an expedition to Earth, which will generate a new objective for you, which you then need to complete in X amount of time. So,
Yeah, of
okay,
course,
so
yeah.
sometimes, so at the top left, you've got all your objectives here that you've got right now. So mechanically, some interesting things. You've got resources at the top. This is all of the resources that you've got. I love how science is just a resource. It's one of these types of games. Cryonic pods we'll get back to, but basically there's we'll get back to cryonic pods.
Contain survivors, as I noticed it said. Yeah.
Cryonic pods contain survivors, and you just defrost them and they come back. Power is a big thing. You generate more power. The only way you can, well, there's multiple ways you can generate power, but the easiest way to start with anyway is you build solar panels on the outside of the actual station. Note how they get, well, you actually can't see here, they get progressively way more expensive the more your power requirements get, so you start to look for alternative fuels and all that kind of stuff, but that's way in the future. Also, the power has like an overload system, so if you overload the system with too much power, as soon as it kicks off a overload, like the trust in you drops immediately. It's like, this guy can't even manage the power, how's he supposed to keep us alive, that kind of stuff. So you build batteries to keep that, to handle that. If you want to like use in the planetary system, like if you want to move the station around, that shuts off all power generation, so you rely on batteries until you reach your destination. So it stops you from just jetting all over the place. Like you need to do some prep work to actually keep your station going while you're traveling. And then you've got these two. So these are your fail states, basically. You've got hull integrity and you've got trust. So trust is basically it's your trust, how much they trust you as the administrator of the station. And currently I'm getting 2% per cycle because everyone's happy. And you can see down here, you can see why they're happy. So +1 from people living in crew quarters, +1 from hull integrity being over 25%. So currently, trust will be fine. This gets way more complicated. This is also calculated per sector. So the more sectors you have, the more you need to keep all of those sectors happy, or your trust starts to get hit real hard.
But did the different sectors serve different purposes?
They can.
Or is it just what you choose to build in
it's
it?
a totally empty set. Choose what you need to build in it.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you can get, if you do the right stuff in a sector, it will become a specialized sector. So like if you do like an industrial sector, you'll get bonuses and that kind of stuff.
So there is an incentive to kind of group stuff together.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah. If that reaches 0, it's a mutiny and it's game over. I think I sent you on chat a screenshot of me getting
you get kicked out an airlock or something.
It's great. And then hull integrity is the other fail state, where basically what's happened is, in true fucking startup fashion, the vol jump that you did has permanently damaged the station. So you can see in there it says 100 hull units are irreparable down at the bottom. So every time you lightspeed jump or vol jump, whatever they call it in here, that will get worse, and you cannot repair those things. You cannot repair that damage. So basically, and every chapter is basically you vol jumping somewhere else, trying to find a planet to settle on. So as you can imagine, as the chapters go on, you're going to have less and less hull units to work with. So you need to really keep on top of this. You can see right now the hull integrity is losing 28 per cycle, because 20 from the vol jump and then 8 from every sector you open also decreases your hull integrity. So you need to have enough stuff repairing while you're opening new sectors, and each sector needs to be able to contribute to the repair and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's your progression. Like as the chapters go on, your hull integrity just gets lower and lower and lower and lower. So you get less wiggle room to do that. And the repair itself is simple. It's like a very limited. So the airlock over here is how you repair stuff and do a bunch of other things. So for every 2 iron, we'll repair 29 hull points per cycle. But if you run out of iron, or alloy, sorry, is what they call them, very quickly, like, you cannot notice that you're running low on alloy until suddenly your hull integrity is like 2, and you're like, oh fuck. So in terms of, wait, what's this other event? Okay, so this is another representation. Hey, administrator. So all of these are done in the voice of the AI, which actually works really, really well. So it's like, you may have noticed that the moon has broken apart. It's like, yeah, no shit. The crew are aware of this. Many rumors are spreading throughout the station. You'll have to make an official statement. And you just choose what the official statement is.
Dolos has many enemies. Something must have happened during the test.
So you can just basically say to them, like, somebody sabotaged
it wasn't our fault. It was sabotage.
Or you can say, it's totally our fault, and we'll do what we can. Our mission is now to rebuild. Or it was humanity's fate, and it was like, shit happens, basically. Well, the moon's destruction is obviously a consequence of humanity's selfish and warlike instance. So there's the one that says, like, a great deal of time has passed in the solar system based on evidence.
I like that the 3 choices, the only 3 choices to this scenario are, it wasn't our fault, it definitely was our fault, or cosmically this just sort of had to have happened.
Yeah,
like
cosmically
it's some
humans
sort of
are
justice.
fucked. Yeah.
So
do that. And then depending on you choose, hey, I've got now -5 trust penalty. So now that will take account. So the penalties just immediately hit you, but you do get some stuff. So again, in this list here, in fact, I'll show you my layer save in a second when this is a fucking nightmare, this sector stability thing. So it's a site builder, right? So resources are going to be an issue. So you've got stockpiles of resources. I've got insect farms that are generating food. The mess hall is where you feed your citizens. They have to be stocked every 5 cycles with enough food to feed everyone in that sector, or people start to get pissed. And then everyone is currently living in these crew quarters. So this is immediately after tutorial. So like this is like the base level of buildings that are there.
Yeah, this is teaching you how to
I'm going to jump to a later save. Notice that my current save is game 3. This is my 3rd restart because I just got myself into a fucking nightmare. So let's jump. So this is currently cycle 67. Let's jump to cycle 800 immediately before I start chapter 2, I think. and hopefully they should have some more interesting buildings. So
why is this game better than other city builders? Like, what's it doing that's not just like the Frostpunk
So
thing?
the thing for me that makes a good city builder is that there's always just enough pressures that you've got something to manage, but it's not entirely overwhelming. And I think this really nails that feeling where there's always something happening, but it still feels almost manageable unless you like really lose track of what's going on, or you really don't keep track of like your levels of materials, or like you're lacking your trust, or your trust just starts to get real weird real quickly. And I just think it balances that really well. I think there's always something to be interested in. I think it was a problem with stuff like the original Startopia is eventually you could get to the stage where your station just runs and like there's no stakes anymore. Like there's always stakes in this, like always something can go wrong. So this is a slightly more advanced station. This is the end of that chapter. So I've got better food production happening over here. I've got, this is the same starting zone. I've got this is mainly storage and like training and research and all that kind of stuff. There's a straight up tech tree. Like, hey,
oh god,
here's all the tech tree. Each one of these things also has multiple internal upgrades for the thing. So my mining ship has 7 upgrades. We've got resource management. This is a big thing, and this is a really good system most of the time. So what has to happen is every sector has its own level of storage. So storage is done by these stockpiles, right? Each one can store 100 units of a thing until you upgrade it.
Sure.
But it will, by default, sectors will keep those resources to themselves. So if you imagine like my sector over here, which is my production sector at the minute. So this is a steel mill that generates alloy from iron. All the iron this generates will stay in this sector by default. Right, it will go to, you can see if I click on here, it's taking iron out of this stockpile, putting it into this, and then feeding it, and putting it into this stockpile. All of that stuff will stay here until you do the resource management stuff, where you go, okay, I see
the export to sector thing.
So you basically set limits per sector and say like, well, every sector should aim to have X units of a thing, and if you're overproducing, it will start sending stuff out. So here you can see like, you've got things saying 50, that's overproducing, this is not at its 110 threshold, so it's sending stuff over there. Most of the time this works really, really well. There's a couple of weird kinks to it that they don't talk about, but I had to learn specifically like off my own back, where stuff like, so one of the things you can do, for instance, is, so say you want to clear out a stockpile, or you want to move it, or you want to do something like that. The thing you would normally do is like, say, iron is no longer stored here, right? And then all of your little workers will then go start them
move
going.
the iron.
You'll see they're all they're all going to move the iron elsewhere. If you switch but say you want to destroy the stockpile, like you want to get resources back. If you mark this stockpile as destroyed, it becomes like inactive, and they don't see it anymore. So they just kind of hang, and it never really destroys itself.
But it's still full of resources.
Yeah. And also, if you're doing something, so obviously destroying, one of the big things about this as well is that recycling is 100% efficient. So it's encouraging you to reorganize your station like often, right? Like this is, I think it's like 4 alloy to make a stockpile. If you recycle it, you'll get 4 alloy back, right? You don't lose any resources. So they are encouraging you often to be like, okay, I need to reorganize where everything is here to optimize space. You don't lose any resources for doing that. But, so for instance, say I wanted to move this stockpile, or say I wanted to actually like move this steel mill, for instance, it's got like, I think it's 50 iron or 30 iron or something like that to do that. If you don't have enough stockpiles in this sector to hold the 30 iron that comes off of this, it will never be destructed. So you end up having to do a thing like...
you have to have space.
You have to have the space in this sector, right? And even if you've set up export rules to be like, export a bunch of iron over here, it can only do that from a stockpile in this sector. Okay. So you end up with
it's not that clever.
It's not... Yeah, like most of the time per sector, it works great, but it does have these things of like... So what you end up doing is like creating a stockpile purely for like a bunch of destruction to hold stuff. And as soon as it hits that stockpile, you can see the rules visibly kick in and go, oh, I need to export this. And then it goes. But it's that kind of stuff and again, that feels like a tweak that can be made. And they've already patched this a good 3 or 4 times since it's there to fix a bunch of issues. But that's the only one that really kind of got me originally. It was like, why isn't this fucking working?
I can't help but notice also that sector has a lot of red squares in it under your like unhappiness thing.
Oh god, yeah. So that's the resource part of it. That is a strike. Yeah. So that's the resource part of it, which is like a kind of integral part of this. And you can actually go into like super detail in here. We can be like prioritize a specific sector to export stuff to, and like prioritize one sector over another, and don't do it for this thing, and all this kind of stuff. It's a really nice system. And one of the patches they did was actually add a bunch more tutorial text. Like the tutorial is actually really good. It's got a bunch of stuff in here about how all this stuff works.
All words. Oh.
But it does that if you do the tutorial, it does lay them out really nicely. Sure. And also the tutorial guides you through it and then dumps you the text and be like, here's all of the details. Then you've got your...
Why are your people striking?
Because they're pissed. So Sector 3, which is this sector. So I'm building this sector out to do something new. So I wanted to move all my iron production into here. So I built this sector and started moving stuff. So why are they unhappy? So you see they're angry here. Hey, remember that sector stability thing? This is what happens when it goes real badly wrong.
+1 dog.
I'll get to that in a second. So they get 2 points of happiness and then -1 for having 20% more unpowered houses in the sector. Again, that was a thing I missed until I saw that thing. I built a bunch of homes for people and I just switched them off because I was like, I don't need them yet. Because they're there as...
But people are still living there.
But it turns out if they're not powered, people will still live there and just be pissed they don't have electricity. So I was like, why is that there? I was like, oh, you just have to switch them on. Fine. -1 for the death of Earth. So one of the other ways the game kind of pushes you forward is your citizens will get... your citizens will get progressively more depressed that they're not finding a new home. So if you stay in one sector too long, you'll get a permanent bonus, a permanent negative of being like, hey, we saw the carcass of Earth for like 4 months. We are so unhappy about this. And that will just stay with you forever at that point.
Sure.
-1 from leaving home behind. They just gave you that because you're like, yep, we'll never see Earth again. Fine. -1 from that's a story thing. And then -3 from having more than 5% of the sector's population starving. So again, this is sector based. So
the fact that you don't have food.
I don't have food in this sector right now enough to feed them, so they get pissed at that. And what the result of all of this is not only do you get a -0.7 trust per cycle, which you can see in here, like Sector 3 is real pissed, they'll start to strike. And if they're angry or unhappy, they will start to strike. So currently, this stockpile is on strike. So they're just like, you can't do anything with it for a while, which has fucked me multiple times where you're like, why am I not repairing the station? Oh, because all of my stockpiles are on strike. Ah, shit, okay. And yeah, you can do some real weird Frostpunk shit of being like, how about you don't strike or I fucking hit you in the face? Like that kind of shit is kind of in there. So they're striking...
Go old school, go back to Alpha Centauri and see if they don't like it, they can get nerve stapled. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, we haven't got that far yet. This one is not normally too bad. It just means that like right now there's not enough food in this sector to feed them during the next meal. But this sector just opened, so I'm still shuttling food in there, so that's actually fine. And this one generally stability. So stability is the thing that determines how much trust you lose. So this is my stability score is -5, and that means it's 0.7 trust. So stability is the thing that like they actually count stuff about. And you get buildings like you get stability buildings, which are like, here's a memorial to our thing, which generates +1 stability, and you can upgrade it through the tech stuff. You also get the DLS Center, which is where you get your data listening system policies, which is your Frostpunk shit, right? This is your, how much propaganda are you doing in this particular, and again, this is per sector. How much propaganda are you doing? Are you feeding people generous amounts of food? What's your working hours like? What are you doing with bodies? This is a really fucked one, which is like, how about you just put bodies in the recycling as opposed to actually burying them or something like that?
Yeah.
Waste, starving population. Yeah, like keep working even if you're starving.
Intense propaganda.
So this is the weird one. I don't know why you wouldn't just do this. There's no downside to this that I've seen so far of not just you plus do stability.
Surely
and that's it.
it's one of these things where if you do it, you'll get like negative scenarios, right?
You would maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen a negative side to this yet. Maybe it's like a long-term thing where you're like, hey, they're fucking sick of you. And this is the specialization thing as well, where like there's mostly industry in here, so it's your tier 1 industry, so batteries last longer, that kind of stuff. Also, the cult of the hull. I haven't got to the point where this becomes relevant.
The cult of the hull.
So one of the things that happened in my game was there was an event that was like, hey, a bunch of people think that the station is like semi-sentient and like is worth worshipping. And at the time I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, you're not doing any damage, fine. But now there's like a cult on my station, and every now and then they're like, hey, we're not happy about how you're mistreating the hull. And it's like, oh, for fuck, okay, fine, I'll make it work. It's great. So there's that stuff. So this is the kind of main level stuff. Then you've got your exterior view, where again, you've got solar panels, a lot of solar panels and like extra engines and things like that. The solar panels get real expensive real quickly. And then you've got your planetary system map. So there's a lot of stuff happening here. So this is chapter 2, I want to say. There's a lot of stuff happening here. And this is where a lot of the kind of story stuff happens here. So you can see what I've got. I've got my fleet, which is currently mining ships. Ships are tied to a specific sector. And you can prioritize like, hey, what you need to go mine. And then cargo ships are what you should go pick up in order of preference and all that kind of stuff. Bunch of cargo ships running for different sectors. So you can start to do things like if you have a ship bay in the sector where you're also doing your iron production, you would probably want to prioritize each ship to focus on iron so that it goes straight into there as opposed to having to get shipped and all that kind of stuff. Except that the cargo, that's the probe launcher. Where's the cargo? Where's the ship bay? Ship bay's fucking huge. And each ship bay can only take 3 ships at once. So you start to having to prioritize stuff. You can do... so he's away mining this. This is a cargo ship, a way to go pick up this iron. This one is going... This is a storm that's happening. This is story related, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, it's not story related. This is what happens in this thing.
These just happens in space. This is just...
Sure.
Yeah.
But specifically in this scenario, or this chapter, like, this storm... like sweeps across you and it really fucks up your ships. Like you can do tech research to like reduce that, but like you lose a lot of ships as stuff's going because you really need these resources. And you can see here like there's different areas. So like these are just like asteroids that have stuff in them. So this has got a bunch of carbon in it that you can go grab. And then there are these sections where you get these events outside, and this is what you use your science ships for. So can I... He's sitting on this right now. So you'll get, again, kind of stuff where you'll get like, hey, we turned up at this thing and there was a weird dude here, or there was like an AI that was shouting nonsense, what do you do, and all this kind of stuff. And that's how I got the dog. I turned up on the debris of a space station, and there was still a dog alive on the space station, and it's like, do you want to just
So wait, this ship that's been built by this company isn't like unique. If there's like space stations and stuff out here in deep space, humanity's been capable of this sort of travel for a while.
Yeah, so this is a station specifically to do like light speed travel. Like there's big spaceships that they're using as like, so like here's the debris of a UN ship that they had there, for instance. So like spaceships exist for sure.
It's not like super unique. It's like, okay, I got
it. No, it's the first station that is going to do this jump drive thing. Like everyone is like,
and then it blows up the moon. And
and then it blew up the moon. Can I do a thing that's closer to like the?
I just didn't know if it was like aliens or whatever. Like if there was like other civilizations that
have not
popping up.
I have not seen aliens yet. Let's leave it there.
Okay. Sure.
Can I go earlier on in this chapter so I can see like? Well, actually, you know what? Let's go back to where we were here, and I can show you some of the space stuff. Because again, this is the story stuff where it's about choices and about what you do and what type of captain you are and all that kind of stuff. But this is where a lot of the story stuff happens is out in space and about what you do with various events that happen. So this is slightly earlier on. What's the system map look like? Okay, cool. So this is just after we've done the jump. So let's go send our science ship to Earth, because that's a thing we said we would do. And again, you can see like it's going to take 0.2 of a cycle. That's the fleet management. And the other thing you've got is probes, which are just straight up Mass Effect. It is like launch a probe, and then you hover over this until like the signal gets to the thing where you're like, hey, there's a lot of carbon here, and then you launch the thing. That's just like, it is just straight up Mass Effect at that point. It's great. So let's just speed things up until the science ship heads to Earth, and then you can go, hey, so event. So this is where the kind of stuff you get, where you're like, okay, no signals have been received to Earth. The oceans seem to have evaporated, and surface temperature has risen significantly since the Tikkun, which is your station, was last in orbit. Atmospheric readings indicate the presence of strong dust storms and dangerously high levels of carbon dioxide, radiation, and microplastics. The blue planet will never again deserve its name. They don't fuck around in this.
No. I like that one of the options is go and investigate your own headquarters.
Yeah, I quite like that. So investigate the Corp headquarters, investigate your house, like your family home, which you can just send this entire ship to go do, or scour the globe and search survivors. Again, each of these are like linked to the amount of time it takes, and like stuff like if you turn up to a planet that is mainly water and you've researched aquatic technologies, like you can somehow do that, and some of these are locked behind technologies or like trust sometimes and all that kind of stuff. So let's scour the globe, and we'll just kind of speed this up while this is going. Meanwhile, what we got? We're just building a bunch of stuff over here. What buildings have we got? Oh yeah, this is really early on, so we've not got a huge selection of stuff. But like factories will obviously do production. There doesn't seem to be like pollution doesn't seem to be a thing. What was that? Sorry. Yeah, okay, that was fine. Something happened there, and she said something, I don't know what it was. But yeah, at this point, like my objectives are feed 1,000 crew members, resolve a specific event, which is the Urshan Abbey, which is our thing, find an asteroid with iron. So the first chapter, the prologue and the first chapter are really kind of easing you into a bunch of the mechanics, and they keep revealing new resources and new mechanics as the game goes on, and it's really good at that, and it's really good at like giving you just enough, like kind of what I was saying before. Come on, hurry up. The notification system, I feel, needs degrees of warning, where like everything comes under. So like a ship has arrived at a planet isn't the same notification as one of your buildings has exploded and killed 17 people. Like there's the same level of notification, and I feel like you kind of want like priority and not
tiered
priority
structure,
because you kind of just miss these notifications sometimes. So I can send. So here's the probe, because I just built a probe. So it's literally just like ice. Cool, excellent. You can send that over. So what happened to Earth? We found nothing but rubble, no signs of life, not even a corpse. The lunaclism, which is a great fucking
lunaclism
word.
Is, yeah.
So it's now more inhospitable than Mars. But now ready for extraction. So it's found a bunch of resources that you can now send your cargo ship to go get. And so very quickly look at the corp in there. Yeah, and it just ramps up. It just gets more complicated.
I assume it just gets progressively more fucked up from there.
And like I say, the hull integrity gets worse and worse. Your trust variations. There's a really horrible one where there's a chapter later on where you turn up or you where you drop out of light speed is like in the middle of what was clearly a combat situation, and there are just bodies floating everywhere, and there's a description that happens that's like your crew can hear bodies pinging off the hull constantly, and this gives you like -1 stability across the board for everything, which is really bad. The converter ourig which Dolos used, I love this as well. Like it's still an ourig because the guy's still a prick and wants to isolate himself from everyone. So cool.
Yeah.
And some survivors. So I'll very quickly go and do this other thing because it kind of shows a little bit of. I know you're investigating. Oh, you have to finish this off. Fine. But yeah, and it just kind of gets worse and worse, and they throw more stuff at you, and space gets more inhospitable, and there's storms, and like the hull integrity gets worse and worse, and because you get more resources, you have to manage more, make sure you're still getting stuff, and it gets insane very quickly. So I've restarted the game a bunch of times. This is my third restart. my current active game at the minute. And it was really interesting where like my first game I failed miserably. And then I restarted, so I got to like chapter 2 and then like almost immediately failed completely. And then I restarted and I was like, I just barreled through the first 2 chapters because I knew what I was doing at that point. So like restarting is not a huge deal once you know what you're doing. A lot of it is like, how does this work? How does this work? Like once you know what you're doing, you can barrel through those first chapters. And the restart a chapter restarts you at your save for when the chapter starts. So you are going to have to, it feels like the thing they're expecting you to do is like gradually improve and gradually get to each chapter better in a better stage. So you go investigate that other one. Meanwhile, we've got an event here somewhere. Event available. Okay, safeguard humanity. We must find survivors and increase the station's population. We do not have time to go through the classic reproductive cycle of your species. Thanks. Adding new members to the Tigon's crew will have a positive impact on morale. So basically, find and collect 500 cryonic pods. So you get pods, you defrost them in a defroster or whatever they call it. A cryonic center, not just a giant microwave. And that's how you get more people. So this is the other one. So mission reports in the expedition to Earth have been discussed among the crew. The thought of having lost all loved ones left behind has destroyed morale for many of them. The symptoms of this trauma have now been collated under the medical designation Dead Earth Sickness. So that's one of your like, yeah, this is just like a -1 stability forever now.
Yeah.
This is just how it happens. And you can offset it, but you can never get rid of it. Like you just have to progressively make everyone happier. Yeah. There was something else I was going to say. The population thing. So the other interesting thing about population management here is, again, population is sector based. So a sector has a specific population, a specific amount of housing that it can take, but that housing is split between non-workers and workers, right? So workers are the only ones that you need to actually do stuff, right? So like the mess hall needs 5 workers to run optimally, but you also have to house non-workers as well. So the population management thing starts to become, okay, I'm going to send only workers to this section, and I'm going to have non-workers kind of spread out evenly so that the housing doesn't get too much, but they still need fed and all of this. And so a lot of it is kind of managing people, and you literally do like transfer orders to send crew across the station and all that kind of stuff.
I'm assuming that affects morale in some way.
Kind of, yeah. Also, like, yeah, if they're not fed, if they're not housed, if there's too many workers. The other thing you can do, I don't know if you maybe saw it, but one of the things was, one of the policies you can put in is like, only wake up workers from the cryogenic thing. Do not wake up.
Just prioritize workers.
Exactly.
Is the thing,
Which is also like, and all those cryo things are like people's parents and family members, and they're like, yo, why are you only waking up? Like, I want my granny. Like, come on. So hey, our sensor detected the Urshanabe ship is broken in 2 and is not transmitting any signals. The phrase, whoever helps Dolos is an enemy of humanity, has been daubed in large letters on the wreck. Mummified bodies have been attached to the hull. Like, shit went wrong while you were away. So I'll just gather the main resources and I'll probably just leave it there. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying my time with this. It is, like I say, the balance seems really, really good. And this game didn't come through early access, like it just dropped. It was a demo, and then the game just dropped in December. And it seems really good, and it seems really well balanced, and they're patching it a lot and like adding explanation. And there's a couple of stuff with the things like, yeah, okay, we can work around this and are looking at it. But again, because it happened just for Christmas, obviously they're now only just starting to get back to doing stuff and things like that. But yeah, so that's IXION. It is on Steam right now. It is, I keep forgetting to look up the price of this stuff before I go in, but it's not full price. It's like, I think it was 30 when I bought it. And there's a lot of game here. Like, it seems like there's a lot of chapters, and I'm only on 3, and I've restarted twice, and I'm on chapter 4. So yeah, it's really, really good. If you like city builders, especially if you like stuff like Frostpunk, stuff like that, there's a lot in here to get your teeth into, and I really like the story stuff they're doing. The writing is actually really good. It's the right level of like I say, like the mission where you end up with a dog is really well written, because like when the dog comes back to the station, like people are super happy about this dog, and that it gives you +1 stability. But also there's some real dark shit in there as well that they do a really good job with. And it also is not like, it doesn't immediately become just like super oppressive in the same way that Frostpunk does. Like, you can be a pretty decent station administrator, except when shit goes real bad, and then you're like, guys, we need you to just work like more. So like, I get, this was another thing this was the worker thing I didn't actually show, the working conditions thing. So if you have more workers than you need, like conditions are optimal, it's fine. But the moment you start to dip below that, it's like people are doing extra shifts, people are overworked, people are dangerously overworked, and that's the point you start getting strikes. That's where shit starts exploding, stuff starts catching on fire, where it goes real bad real quickly, all that kind of stuff. So IXION, it's out now. It's on Steam, as far as I know. That's the only, well, I know for PC, I think that's the only place that's there. It's not on consoles or anything like that right now. And I'm really enjoying it, and
good.
We'll see if it ends up in my favorite games of the year, because I'm since the more time I put into this, the more I'm like, I need to rewrite my list. Oh shit. But we'll see where it goes. Thanks, Cal.
Thanks, you.